What is duty? We have lesser duties, which could be called something like the social contract, where we agree, okay, I'm not going to hurt you and you're not going to hurt me. I am going to give you the level of freedom on your property, and you're going to give me a level of freedom on my property. We pay taxes in order to fund the roads that we use. We pay taxes to fund public schooling, the postal office. We pay taxes to defend ourselves into the Army, Navy, Air Force. We pay taxes to maintain that. We pay taxes to have regulations on food quality. These are the lesser duties. We agree in the social contract to provide for one another as we have a reservoir of resources, and we all put a little bit into that reservoir of resources so that everybody can maintain a level of not comfort, but a level of security within their own existence in a certain society. Those are the lesser duties. The more complicated duty that we find over time is purely one's relation to the cosmos and to the universe, to the multiverse. We may look at somebody's job and say, it's been in many times in human history, most of the times, as far as we know, that individuals who had a particular job, that was their duty to a society. If they were a carpenter, they were a sanitation worker. If they were someone who sold produce, a farmer. If they were a doctor. If they were a police officer or a military officer or a military soldier, all of these jobs constitute a medium duty to everyone else, but the higher duty is something that cannot be satisfied in a relationship to society, but a relationship to a grander cosmos. So there have been many yogis, there have been many spiritual people who have performed jobs that were outside of what we usually consider as duty, or caste even, or role in a society. For instance, there's yogis that, in order to provide a basic amount of living for themselves, have been cooks in kitchens. Now, we usually don't think of enlightened people as being cooks, but there's a little bit of a deception there, because the service that they are providing for everyone else is, I'm going to cook this food not necessarily to taste the best, but to be filled with a spiritual energy, an energy of happiness and order that is transferred to you through the food that they cook. This is true for every single person. As individuals, no matter what you do, you can perform that role very well so that everyone who benefits from that service or job receives the energy that you put into it. But that is also still mid-range duty. So when I'm talking about higher duties, the highest duties, I'm talking about one, understanding themselves beyond a society or what they can do for other people in a society, but understanding their own mission, their own personal mission. We all have to find our personal mission, the way that we fit into this multiverse. We have to figure out, what is the nature of my soul? And once we start to realize that, we can realize the nature of our commitment and exactly what we have to do. I'll give an example. I am a grocery store worker, but that is my lesser duty. And my mid-range duty is to be polite to everybody and be nice to my coworkers and customers, things like that. The highest duty that I have, that I figured out is my place in the cosmos, is providing whatever understanding and knowledge I have about spirituality, religion, and different paths to people, no matter what their path is. Somebody like me is not concerned about forcing other people to follow a certain path, but helping people within their own paths. That is the duty that I've found, and the duty that I'm very dedicated to. As per these YouTube videos and conversations with many people, speaking with many people, doing things for many people. That is my higher duty, my grander connection to the cosmos, my grander duty to the cosmos. Now, when we think about desire, a lot of people say, why do we have to worry about duty? Why can't everybody just do what they want? And I'm not necessarily saying that, anybody can just kill or hurt somebody or steal something if they want to do it. I'm talking about even if you're just doing what you want and it doesn't really have a big societal impact. So this is a reason why duty is a very personal thing, higher duty. Because if we just do what we want, desire is produced not by an innate nature within us or produced by any part of ourselves. Desire is produced as a reaction to the external world that can draw us in, and we decide to act in the external world to satisfy a desire that it planted within us as a seed. As it is said, desire at first feels like nectar, but soon comes to feel like poison. Right action at first feels like poison, but soon becomes nectar in our experience. So while we have that social contract level of duty, lesser duty, while we have, that social niceness and accommodation to people as a mid duty, but the higher duty is definitely something that you can only decide for yourself. Nobody can force you to have a certain higher duty. But I will say that understanding desire shows that just because we're not hurting anybody and we're doing what we want, that doesn't mean that we're appeasing or living up to our duty. Sometimes for our inner peace, our inner understanding, and our spiritual evolution, transformation, we have to follow rules that we make up. And when I say make up rules, I mean we have to restrict ourselves in the ways that we know we are weak. If we know we have a weakness, it's not anybody's position, it's not anybody's role, it's not nobody's allowed to, as long as we're not hurting somebody else, nobody, and we're, if you want to take it to the level, we're adults, nobody is allowed to make us follow a higher duty or form the code that is our action. But we soon come to find on the spiritual path that we owe it to ourselves to act correctly by our own moral code. And when I say moral code, I'm talking about a code that you form not because of desire, not because of fear, not because of ego, but a code that you form based on what you feel like your purpose is in the cosmos. And it can be scary, forming your own moral code, getting rid of everything that feels like society operates on when it comes to desire, when it comes to ego. A lot of these things are vying in society itself to be dominant. But we take ourselves, our highest self, out of that environment. We take our endeavors to a point where we, as individuals, decide our moral code. The best moral codes are without ego, without desire, without fear. If we can form our own, then we can truly know how to perform our duty to the cosmos. Something that we just find is the puzzle piece that we fit into the cosmos. So, for instance, I can give some examples. Now, I'm no perfect example of what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that I've mastered this. These are just my ideas on this, on duty. So take it for what it's worth. If it sounds like BS, that's completely fine. But here are my ideas. So, for instance, my duty to myself, my higher self, is to reject egoic thought. Nobody has the right to stop me from having egoic thoughts that I'm better because of this. I matter more because of this. My effect is more on the universe because I understand my duty and I'm acknowledging that duty and taking up that duty. That's still egoic, even though it's very similar to what we're talking about. If you think you understand your duty, you cannot imagine that you are better. So, egoic thought, even like that, even deep egoic thought, have to get rid of. I am constantly trying to purge egoic thoughts so that I can put myself on the path more steadily. I can have hiking boots on instead of sandals. in essence. If you understand that analogy, it's a weird analogy. Um, so I also I control desire, but I still have desires and fulfill them. Smoke cigarettes, drink, things like that. And there's no black and white in this. There's no either you're a good person and you follow your duty or you don't and you're a bad person. There's a spectrum of everything in between. And when it comes to not doing things, and that's like lesser duties, just don't do anything to hurt anything else. Human beings, you can say animals as well, whether it comes to meat and dairy consumption or littering and destroying the environment. Maybe you want to drive a better car that's not better in the sense that it's more attractive as much as it doesn't have an effect on the environment. People might say, what's one drop more in an ocean of poison? And the only way an ocean of poison is formed, this is an analogy, is when nobody cares for their drop. And if there are enough people not caring for their drop that they're adding to it, it will become a tide that can destroy the world. It's how the Mahabharata, the battle at Kurukshetra, started. There wasn't enough people acting correctly, even by their own acknowledged code. Another way that I try to act correctly by my own code. That was realized not because it was desired, but because I came to understand my place. Not a place somebody gave me, but a place that I realized myself. Very important to understand that. I started to realize that I was using other people as commodities or resources instead of just appreciating them as individuals. Try to get away from that. I try to not assume that I know what I think that I know, because then I cannot grow. That's another action, trying to subdue that and learn more, despite the idea that we all want to have that we know enough or we know everything. And when it comes to spiritual leaders, priests, preachers, Brahmins, imams, nobody can tell you what your higher duty is. You have to realize it. And I'm repeating this again because it's very important. It's very important to say. You have to find your level, your kind of duty, your kind of action, and pursue it fearlessly. Because while society might not force you to do it, maybe your religion might not force you to do it, you have to do it on your own, because if you don't, then you're not going to attune with the best version of yourself that you were always meant to be. And not everybody's higher duty is to avoid cigarettes or smoking or avoid egotism or things like that. We have to find our individual weaknesses and then try to, and over time, figure out ways to work away from them, to put up barriers where there was an open dam of poison. And it floods from one generation to another. That's why if we study history, we will realize how falsehood is an avalanche. And if we but climb a tree, we can overcome that avalanche. We can get above it. We don't have to be affected by everything externally. We don't have to submit to a temptation. We don't have to submit to ignorance. We don't have to submit to hatred. And we don't have to submit to fear. If we study history, or even just study how people think around us, we'll at least have an idea about how to get over it, so that we're not caught up in the avalanche. Duty is, just like the meaning of life, is what you make it. But the key is making it through clear understanding, and not what we would rather do, or what's more fun, or what we want. Because once again, what we want, our desires, are a reaction to the stimuli in the external world. Since we react to that stimuli, desire is created. But is it ephemeral? It doesn't have substance. It is an influence on consciousness. It is not a producer of anything in consciousness. As an individual who has been through many trials and tribulations, who has encountered many obstacles, and who is not anywhere near perfect, I will say that the only guiding light that I have is the realization of how I fit into the cosmos and what I can do for everyone else. And it's not about how big it is. It's not about how small it is. It's about realizing who you are and what you can do to fit in to the grander community. Not society, the grander community of souls. Because we all have a secret mission that we're all trying to learn. And animal consciousness is when animals don't know any better than to just pursue what they want. Human beings, on the other hand, we have the ability to not just pursue what we want, but decide what is right and what is conducive to harmony in the multiverse. So even though a lot of people have the ability, this human ability, there are a few people who use it to its grandest potential. And it's easier to go towards animal consciousness. Say, oh, I don't like this. I don't like what this person did. I don't like restraining myself in this way. I'd rather just do what I want. And once again, I'm not judging anybody. And anybody who judges someone else for how they act, as long as they're not hurting somebody else, should not be listened to. This is an inner journey. It is an inner transformation. Nobody should restrict you as long as you're not hurting something or somebody else. It's hard for a lot of people to see this, and these aren't necessarily my own ideas. A lot of these things are my own ideas, but definitely not all of it. There's a lot of Eastern understanding here, but the division between what our higher self views as right and what our lower self desires, it's a big difference. And a lot of people don't realize that. So, in conclusion, talking about action, talking about duty. What is our duty? Well, it's what you make it. It's what you realize about yourself to higher and higher degrees. Nobody can realize and tell you what your duty is. It's something you have to find for yourself. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. I hope this wasn't too much of a rant. I hope that it was informative. I hope that you enjoyed it at any rate. If you want to contact me on Facebook, feel free to go to www.facebook.com/Hunter Salazar. HUNTER Salazar. And if you contact me there, I'll respond to you as long as you're polite. It's kind of my duty to try to help as many people as possible in understanding, even though I don't fully understand myself. Don't get me wrong, I'm not better. And nobody who even could say they are better, they would never say something like that. Once again, www.facebook.com/Hunter Salazar. HUNTER Salazar. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped, and all of you have a wonderful day.